Welcome to Pit Check, your weekly source for new heavy music recommendations. This week we've got a lot of new albums, there's a lot of new metalcore, some good deathcore albums, and even a couple metal electronic party music crossovers. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, and let's just get right into this week's new heavy music. Swancore lovers have been salivating over this one. Eidola is back with their newest album, A.M.E.N. This is their 6th studio album, or I guess 5th if you count this as a double album with Eviscerate and A.M.E.N being two halves of one album like it was initially announced as. Either way, this is a 13-song album, clocking in at about 48 minutes, and it's being co-released by Blue Swan Records and Rise Records. Alright, so we've got to talk about it right up here up top. But if this vocalist sounds oddly familiar, but you've never heard of this band, that's probably because just last year, Andrew Wells, the singer of Eidola, was also announced to be the singer of Dance Gavin Dance, arguably the biggest band in post-hardcore. And that makes him the 4th lead singer of this band, or I guess 5th if you count going back and forth with Johnny Craig. But I guess by that logic, he would also be the 5th and 7th, given Tillian getting kicked out of the band 2 times. God, this band is a mess. Anyway, back to Eidola. If you're into what is known as Swancore, bands like Dance Gavin Dance, or a lot like Birds, or Hail the Sun, bands that blend that groovy, funky guitar with post-hardcore and metalcore and catchy choruses, this album is probably already on your radar, but if it's not, you should obviously check it out because it'll be right up your alley. Initially, when it was announced, it was heavily implied that A.M.E.N, this album, was going to be the end of Eidola as a whole, which makes sense given the presumably insane touring schedule of Dance Gavin Dance. But lately, it seemed like Eidola has started to walk that back a little bit and kind of imply that this is the end of an era more than the end of them as a band. And it seems like maybe it's just kind of the end of the narrative journey that these albums have been leading up to thus far. Usually being the hunt for spirituality and meaning, or the justifications of their ideologies, or even the rejection of those ideologies. In an interview with Digital Beat, vocalist Andrew Wells commented on the new album, stating, "It's the culmination of 6 albums, woven together with passion and energy. With A.M.E.N, we're not holding back. We're pushing the boundaries of what this band has always been about. Coming off of Eviscerate, A.M.E.N feels like the other side of the same coin, a fierce, powerful continuation of the themes that shape our work." So again, that was Eidola. God, I hope I'm saying that right. I've said it like 20 times in this. With their latest and hopefully not final album, A.M.E.N. For death metal, thrash, and even black metal lovers, the old school extreme metal pioneers Necrodeath have released their latest album, Arimortis. Arimortis is Necrodeath's 15th and final studio album, not including any compilations or EPs. This is a 9-song album running about 38 minutes, and it's being released by Scarlet Records. Necrodeath are a Blackened death thrash metal band from Italy with a surprisingly huge cult following. They've been around since 1985, and after 40 years, they have finally decided to put the band to rest. They've disbanded once before in 1989, before coming back in 1998, but I have to think this time it's for good. Can I just stop for a second and say what a beautiful time capsule their website is? Man, this brings back so many childhood Web 1.0 memories. Yes, kids, this is what the internet used to look like. About their title track, Arimortis, and the final album as a whole, the band has said, Metaphorically, we wanted to compare our 40-year musical career to a long battle from which we emerge with our heads held high, without any regrets. This song is dedicated to everyone who has contributed to making Necrodeath what it is today, for better or for worse. This will be our testament, left to the new generations, in the hope that they can continue to make music in a world without wars. So if you want to check out the send-off album to an old-school cult classic band, you should check out Necrodeath's final album, Arimortis. This is another good one for death and thrash metal lovers. Sarcator has released their newest album, Swarming Angels and Flies. Sarcator are an up-and-coming Blackened death thrash metal band from Sweden, and this is only their third studio album. Swarming Angels and Flies is an 8-song album, and it clocks in at a whopping 44 minutes, and congrats to these guys, it's being released by Century Media Records. Sarcator are probably best known for being literal children. When they released their first demo, they were all literally in high school, with one of them, I think, being 14 years old. And then just 2 years later, they were being nominated for Sweden's Best Metal Album. God, what am I doing with my life? Other than making me feel super old, these dudes have been hitting the ground running pretty hard since they've become proper adults, since they weren't able to tour or play shows really when they were kids. But now that they're out and about, and especially backed by a huge label like Century Media, they're positioned pretty well to break into the American market. Doubly so now that there's this huge old school death metal resurgence happening in the US right now. So if you love thrash metal or death metal with some Blackened elements, you should definitely check out Sarcator's newest album, Swarming Angels and Flies. If you like your metal as silly and unserious as possible, then you need to check out the Butcher Sisters with their newest album, Das Weiße Album. Das Weiße Album is a 14-song album, clocking in at about 42 minutes, and it's being released by Arising Empire Records. Take me down. This is super dancey, electronic, and goofy as hell. They're kind of hard to pin them down into a specific genre, but I love the way that Wikipedia describes them. They are a band whose music can be classified somewhere between German rap, metal, and beatdown hardcore. This is one of those bands where it's just a bunch of dudes clearly having a ton of fun, so it's kind of hard not to have a ton of fun when you listen to them. It's funky, goofy party music, and it's designed to make you dance and put a smile on your face, even if you don't speak German. I do not speak German. I'm sure a lot of the lyrical jokes would work a lot better if I did speak German, but even without Google Translate, you can still tell what's going on. Aperol is about the healing mystical powers of Aperol Spritz. What's not to get? The Butcher Sisters are known for having these really fun, elaborate parties at their shows with everyone dancing like crazy and getting covered in beer. So if you're a fan of bands like Electric Callboy or We Butter the Bread with Butter, you're gonna find a lot to love here. So next time you're at a party with some metalheads and you want to throw on some dancey, goofy shit, I've got to recommend the Butcher Sisters' newest album, Das Weiße Album. Take me down. Blackened deathcore act Drown in Sulphur are back with their newest album, Vengeance. This is a 10-song album, clocking in at 37 minutes, and it's being released by Vizkill Records. You may remember this band from some drama a few years ago. I think it was during the pandemic, but the drummer actually kicked out all of the other members of the band and then hired new ones, with then the older members forming their own band called Defamed. And you know, it's always a shame to see good bands get splintered like this, but to be honest, both bands have had a pretty stellar output lately, so it's not all bad. And if you've never heard of either of these bands, now is the perfect time to check out both of them. This one is going to be for fans of disgustingly heavy deathcore with like symphonic elements. Fans of Thy Art Is Murder or Super Silence or obviously Lorna Shore are going to find a lot to love here. But don't fear, this isn't just another Lorna Shore clone. Drown and Sulphur have a surprisingly fresh and mature sound compared to a lot of their contemporaries and even compared to their own work. About the album, Drown and Sulphur have said, "Our new album, Vengeance, is a scream of pure rage, born with hatred against those who tried to stop us. No one will hold us back anymore." I wonder if that's a reference to the former band members, or it could also be a reference to their former record label, Scarlet Records, who they jumped ship from to join Vizkill Records unexpectedly. I can't say for sure who this anger is directed at, but I guess thank you for making them so angry that they put this out, because it's awesome. So if you love deathcore at all, specifically symphonic deathcore or death metal, you should definitely check out Drown and Sulphur's newest album, Vengeance. Real quick, if you could, I hate to do this, but if you could just subscribe to the channel if you're not already, or give the video a like, or comment your favorite album down below. I hate to ask for engagement like that, but every little bit really does help a lot, and I'd really appreciate it. Okay, now let's move on to specifically the metalcore albums of the week. These are some of the ones that we didn't talk about in the main segment, but should definitely be on your radar. First up, we've got A Tiger Made of Lightning. Their newest release, Manticore, is an 8-song album, clocking in at 23 minutes, and it's being released independently. A Tiger Made of Lightning is a metalcore band from Columbus, and they're self-described as aggressively positive MySpacecore. Although this release is a little less MySpacey than their previous work, I'd still definitely clock it as that early era metalcore 2000s kind of vibes. So if you're into post-hardcore or metalcore or love that kind of throwback MySpace vibe, definitely check out Manticore by A Tiger Made of Lightning. If you're into metalcore or nu metal, but like really heavy nu metal, definitely check out COLDSTATE's newest EP, The Heinous. This is a super short 3-song EP, clocking in at just 10 minutes, but it is being released independently. This one is for lovers of breakdowns, chunky riffs with DJ scratching and, I don't know, breaking stuff. This one is in the metalcore section because of the clean choruses, and the general song structure are something you'd expect from a more modern metalcore release, but this one has a lot more of an industrial and nu metal flavor to things. So if you want an extremely quick and very angry EP, definitely check out The Heinous by COLDSTATE. This last one is a weird one, and I didn't really know what category to put it into, but there's enough metalcore elements that it qualifies here. This is Nailbite with their newest album, Nostalgia. This is a 13-song album, clocking in at about 44 minutes, and it's being released independently. There's a lot of good independent artists this week. About the album, Nailbite stated, "Throughout the album, Nailbite delves further into their wide-reaching influences. this time blending world music, synthwave, country, weirdcore, funk, grunge, EDM, and much more with a modern metal sound. So if you're into mashing metal with other weird, obscure genres, you definitely need to check out Nailbite's newest album, Nostalgia. Now let's get into the hardcore and hardcore punk releases of the week. Day by Day is back with their newest EP, Dust and Ashes. This EP wastes none of your time, being only 12 minutes long despite having 6 songs, but it is being released by hardcore giants Flatspot Records. Day by Day pride themselves on being a no-frills, do-it-yourself hardcore band, really leaning into the aggressive, angry, and extreme side of things. They've been releasing their music independently until now, with this being their first release on a major label. So if you're into some stupid heavy old-school hardcore like No Cure or X Weapon X, or maybe even Knocked Loose, you'll find a lot to love here. Again, that was Day by Day with their newest EP, Dust and Ashes. Alright, this one's going to be pretty divisive. Shutdown is back with their newest EP, By Your Side. Shutdown is a 90s, 2000s New York hardcore band, and it's great to see them back after so long. But their sound has definitely changed since those early years, and you should definitely be aware of it if you're a fan of their older stuff.
We stood by your side. We've been through it all.
The most obvious change on this EP is the vocals. They now lean way heavier into the positive, you can do it, almost pop-punk side of things, which is sort of a sharp contrast to the admittedly very catchy and interesting instrumentals. And this change is such a big one, especially the vocal styles from their earlier work. I can see it ruffling a lot of feathers.
Just know you'll be okay. I am here by your side. Think it clear.
But if you like the positive hardcore punk side of things, you should definitely check out Shutdown's newest EP, By Your Side.
You can't stop me. I'm unstoppable. You can't bring this down.
And to wrap up this hardcore section, we've got a new EP from newcomers Spitballin titled Spit It Out. This is an awesome little metallic hardcore release, being 6 tracks long and running about 15 minutes. And it's also being released independently. This is a great old school, getting beat up in a garage mosh pit vibe. So if you need a quick little UK hardcore fix, check out Spitballin's latest EP, Spit It Out. And that's all we've got for the newest metal this week. All of the albums will be in the description below, and please don't get hurt in the mosh pit so I can catch you next week for another pit check.